a.m. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to accept minutes for August 21st, 2018.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, new business. Presentation on vaping. Laura Morris.
Is not here.
Okay, let's jump to B. If everybody's okay with that?
Yes.
Tax commitment.
Yes, tax commitment.
Kurt LaBelle.
Hi, I'm Kurt LaBelle, assessor's agent for the town of Raymond. So this year, it's been another pretty good year on the construction front. Had a lot of new construction in town, about 27 new houses permitted this year, all in various stages of construction. A lot of it this year took place on the interior. It was a good year for build out in some of these subdivisions that were dormant through the recession, have been revived, and we're starting to see a lot of new construction in those areas as well. Anticipate more construction on the waterfront next year. We did have some, just not quite as much as we've had in other years. It was just kind of I think just the way things kind of timed out. Overall, the valuations came in at $1,025,691,800. It's up about $6.5 million from last year. The tax that the assessors need to commit is about $12.9 million this year, $12,923,000. That's up about 3.1%, or $388,000. Out of that $388,000 increase, 83% or $322 is for education funding. The municipal levy will be up about $24,000 or 6%. The county levy is up about $14,000. The TIF district is up $21,000. That's largely due to increases on the personal property and real estate side within the district. So as we capture more value, it increases the payment in that district, and those funds are used generally within the district to fund economic development activities. And the overlay will be dependent upon the rate that the assessors select for this year's taxes. As you can see in the memo that I supplied for the packet, last year's tax rate was $12.30. The minimum rate for this year is $12.60. That would yield an overlay of $6,000. Every cent that we change the overlay will add $10,000 onto the overlay. And I guess that's pretty much all I have. I'll take questions if anybody has any that aren't too awful specific. I'll shoot from the hip.
You had mentioned that people have pulled 27 permits, correct?
27 new residential houses.
Okay, and that was my question.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if they were renos or all new construction.
Yeah, some of them might be demo rebuilds.
Bigger
What
play,
we're
bigger
seeing
play.
on the water in particular, on the lakefronts, is a lot of demolition rebuild. Not so much on the, not so many land splits with a new house built on a new created parcel, but we're getting a lot of folks that are buying homes and then either demolishing the house and building a new one, or substantially altering the house that's there.
Right.
So that's a lot of what we're seeing on the lakefront properties, but the interior, it's all brand new housing on vacant lots.
Yeah. Have you been finding any variables or any issues per se that you've never really ran across? I know as gets 2018 and life becomes even more crazy than what it ever has been. Are you running into challenges that you never have in years past from anything?
No, I think nothing new. Everything goes smoothly as far as site visits, things like that, no problems. We're 13 years out from our last revaluation, so the market is picking up. So our values are going to get softer likely over the next few years. We're falling under market. We're going to probably more than likely start to see a divide in our ratios between the lakefront properties and the interior properties. Those two things, coupled with the fact that it's simply been well over a decade since the last full inventory. If this continues, a few years down the road, we'll have to start discussing a valuation.
Thank you.
Essentially, the overlay is protecting us in a couple different ways. The one is for unpaid taxes, but we probably have enough in reserve to handle that. The other would be for abatements. We've had we had a few this year, but are there any that you see in the offing that that are come up that we've got to look at? Or my inclination would be keep it down at that 6K or
Right.
that type level. But if we've got some things that are ready to blow up on us, then we got to look at it a little bit differently.
I'm not sure if the town, typically with overlay, that money just falls into fund balance unless the town designates that overlay for a specific use, like abatements or some other use. So it may be that abatements are funded out of a different line within the budget, not the overlay. I'm not sure how we fund it here in Raymond. The trouble with tax abatements is if I see them coming, I handle them before we commit taxes. So they typically come out of nowhere. The kind of things that we've been watching over the last couple of years are the Portland pipeline situation. They have the legal cases with South Portland that are affecting the value of the pipeline because of course they want to reverse the flow of the pipeline because they have almost no oil going north. And we've been watching that. We've been discussing it with the pipeline the last couple of years, and we're watching to see what the outcome is in federal court, the ultimate outcome, to see what the long-term ramifications of that oil pipeline are. Other than that, I don't. That's kind of one of the things we kind of have our eye on. But other than that, you're talking mostly just residential stuff that kind of comes out of nowhere.
Because the budget this year, we didn't use undesignated to lower the rate. So
Right.
I'm more comfortable on the lower side than stepping that up because all we're doing there is building what we've already got for a surplus.
Yep.
Do we know what's in the undesignated funds at this time?
I don't. Do you have that current? No.
I mean, it's in excess of the auditor's recommendation.
Yeah, every time I've ever had a discussion with Kathy or the previous finance administrator,
Nancy.
you've always, Nancy Yates, who have always been healthy on the fund balance side. So.
Usually it is. So do you guys want to go with the 12-6?
That would be my recommendation. Do you need a motion?
If we're not going to use any undesignated funds, yes. I'm not sure we want to do that. We decided in the budget.
Well, we
cycle
decided
not
in the
to.
budget not to use that to offset, so I mean,
I get a little nervous when I see too much money in that
Yeah.
because we're not using it
Right.
correctly. I don't think
Yep.
so. Okay, I will move the 12-6.
second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
So now that I have the rate, tomorrow I'll be in and I'll set up the rate file in the town's billing system and execute the warrants, and I'll have them ready probably by noontime. And if you guys can circle in, I'll leave them with Kathy, and we'll get the warrant signed, and then off we go. All right.
Kurt, you got off really easy this year.
I know.
Like, he wants to do it and get out of here.
He hasn't left yet.
I try to write down things that I think might get asked, and I'm never right. I've yet to hit one.
This time was easy.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you. All right, let's, sorry, going back to Presentation of Public Safety Employee Recruitment and Retention Report.
Okay. See if I can make this thing work. If I'm all right sitting over here, if you don't mind, I would do that and then I can make, hopefully, this thing work. Push this button? Or is it already on? Okay, so it's this button over here.
Doesn't have a little black, red button on the bottom, see if it's on or off.
No one will end up with a-
There it is, and duplicate. That's what I need.
Bruce, before you get started,
Yes.
can you give us in 1 or 2 sentences what we're going to see and what we're going to decide, if anything, tonight? What you want us to decide? Just give me a quick umbrella type overview.
I will give you a very brief synopsis of what was contained within the report, a recap of
No,
some
I'm
of
not
the
interested in
objects.
that. Are we looking to increase salaries? Are we looking to increase manpower? What are we trying to do here?
Looking to increase manpower and retain manpower, yes.
Okay.
Yes. That
And
would be
this,
the ultimate-
this is
the
your
ultimate
solution
goal.
to that?
What's the ultimate goal out of this? And yes, we hope this is the solution.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And how do we get rid of the side menu now, Sue?
Just click anywhere on the
Anywhere on there?
presentation.
There it is. Excellent. All right, so we get rid of some of that. So, basically, just wanted to give that quick, brief overview so the public at home might see this. And then, I don't know why it's not up on the whole screen, but that's all right, you can see the whole slide. So, basically, we know that in 1933, Chief Hayden wrote that there were 30 members in the department that handled 9 incidents, and today we're 32 members strong and we're handling 900 incidents. The manpower structure of the manpower of the department is made up of a combination now. It's no longer volunteer, but it is a paid call and part-time and full-time staffing. It's the only way to make it really work, and most departments have had to go to that, and you know, unfortunately, including our neighbors, just to handle the basic calls or incidents for emergencies. Yeah, it's going to cut off my bottom of this. Don't know how that's set up, but so in the synopsis, we're doing more with less people. We know that, and we're doing more in terms of what we're expected to do, certifications, the time to gain those certifications, licensure and relicensure. So it's become a much more complex thing than in the 30s, 40s, 50s, when you could just show up and run a truck, and they weren't even complex trucks, etc. So we became a call department or a partially paid department in the 90s. And actually a little bit before that probably, and in so then added the per diem and full-time paramedic staff to the department out of necessity in order to cover those calls and to help gain the certifications that we need, like a paramedic, which takes so much, or an EMT, which takes so much for recertification. Out of a person's time and life. So we rely heavily on our students, which is a great program through SMCC. You've heard us talk about that greatly. It's a great program, but everybody we get in that program, and that's one of our students kneeling down there, Hunter, who's now in New Hampshire at a full-time department in Dover, doing well. And he, like the others, are in it to gain that education, some experience with us, and then move on. So we have them temporarily. We have very green people for the first year and a half. Because they live it, breathe it every day, they actually blossom quickly and gain a very valuable experience in a short period of time. But the reality is that we could only have these folks for a couple of years before they move on to a full-time employment. Thank you so much.
Either space bar or the mouse.
Okay, sounds good. We work in you heard me talk about it extensively last year in the budget meetings, and that's kind of what's driven this meeting, at least I surmise that, is that we're in a highly competitive labor market. There's limited interest now, and I'm just throwing these things out when we talk about them a little bit more. And members work elsewhere to earn more money. So we live in an aging community. We don't attract a lot of young people who don't have family commitments and children, etc., that are ripe and ready to come into the fire service. We also don't have a high school where we can draft from in our community, where we can draft from and be in contact with on a daily basis to get those people as juniors, which really gets the hook in them, if you will. And that's a program that works fairly well elsewhere. We've never been that successful with our junior program, though we've tried it many, many times, and even done a Boy Scout Explorer program for 4 or 5 years here. And ultimately, it's a lot of effort with very little realized manpower gains or staffing gains out of it. So the limited interest comes from the increased danger and the commitment that people have to make to a department now, and it makes it very hard to draft people. And we are challenged in our schedule every month. Kathy puts the schedule together, and we're 15 to 20 or 180 plus hours, I would say, of shift time short of filling a full schedule now. It's getting very difficult to fill weekends. People would rather spend their time going to camp or out and doing other activities with the children than dedicating it to the department. And being short-staffed for these very complex incidents, and I say that, and everybody automatically probably thinks, oh, the big fire and the house fire, and it's not so much that, but we do an extrication call in a hybrid car now, and a nickel metal hydride battery pack, and it becomes a hazmat incident, and these things become very complex and require more than 2 or 3 people to handle them. So this becomes a challenge. So we've gone to automatic mutual aid. Every town is using automatic mutual aid. So we're all picking our available manpower and sending it to everyone else to help them out. So it kind of creates this lack of, if you will, of people. There we go. All right. So, and it may be hard to read this, and I apologize. I could not get the bottom part bigger so we can really read it. This was just to demonstrate, and it was in the report as attachment 3, but it's really to demonstrate who's doing what in our department and what the call members do. So if you look at this and you see that the call members are in the color gray, the greatest amount of people are in that color, the least amount of hours worked are in that color. And in other words, you can expect less than a quarter or around a quarter of your volunteer, sorry, keep using that word myself, your call staff at any point in time because of work schedules, family schedules, events, planned things with children, etc. So our students and our retiree members end up getting, at the least of our staffing, get the most of the hours worked. Okay. So it becomes kind of that dangerous, if you will, rotation because the students are in and out. The maximum we have a student for is 4 years. Our retirees' average age is 71, I believe now. So we're getting an aged group there as well, and that limits what they can do. And as I said in the report, the concern there is really that we've got 2 of our retirees who can no longer actively fight fire. They can't wear the air packs. They can't do that. Yes.
Is
Yeah.
the full-time, part-time, is that the lighter orange? And the retirees is the darker?
The dark.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So that's kind of, I guess, just to let you know how this thing all pieces together works and how complex that system really is. And it is very, very complex. It's hard to get a schedule put together, as Kathy can attest, and try to fill these every month and entice people, if you will, to take these shifts. Ironically, when I was putting this slideshow together, and like I said, I wanted to be very brief with it, but ironically, and I thought this was important, I ran across this slide, which was from a 2006-2007 Selectmen update. And this was what we had then, and what we were paying then. As you can see there, our paramedic firefighters, our 3 full-timers, were $14 to $15 an hour then. And sadly, a little over 10 years later, we have 2 of them making $16.87, I think, an hour. Not a huge difference, and they've been here. Actually, one of them's been here pretty much that whole time. So it really kind of speaks volumes, I guess, as to what we've done here in the department, or haven't achieved, I guess, somewhat. Back then we were supplementing with 2 live-in students, and now we have 4, so we've expanded that program. It's something we could expand further. I just am very cautious about becoming over-reliant on that program, just simply because they are temporary resource. It is a great program, and we get as much out of it as the student does, but I still believe that we're kind of at that just right mix, if you will. So this is an overview of our current, and where we were is the old rate. That was just in July 1, and the new rate that took over actually in July 1 with the raise that you folks authorized and the adjustment. That is just for those call members up there. The full and part-timers, the union contingent, if you will, did not realize an adjustment yet because they're without a contract. So we have to wait till they negotiate a contract before they can get a raise. The other part-timers and the other non-union members of the full-time staff got their merit raises. So that just kind of shows you where we were, where we're at. And that's what really kind of made a difference. I know that we talk about it a lot, and that's why I thought it was important to really broach this again. I don't want to beat the dead horse, and I know it comes up every couple of years, and we kind of go, wow, we just talked about it. Well, we did, but we really haven't, I don't think, gotten to where we need to be. So, and that's kind of how we're structured. Our lieutenants and captains, we gave just basically a stipend per hour, if you will, for taking on those extra duties. Just for example, one lieutenant's in charge of building maintenance. He happens to be, that's what he does for his real job with a huge corporation, and so he picks out, hey, you need to make sure we get the boiler service, we need to make sure your filters changed, and lighting and things like that upgraded. The other lieutenant's in charge of small equipment, so he makes sure our pumps and portable pumps, chainsaws and all that are always working. One captain is in charge of safety, the other one's in charge of vehicle maintenance. So he's the guy who's making sure, our inspections are done on time, our pump testing gets done, hose testing, all of those things. So they have added duties above and beyond, and that's why we, as well as their responsibilities on the emergency scene. So we bumped them up that a little bit. One of the things that we need to talk about is really going to be, we're at the point where we've got to hire a full-time paramedic firefighter because we had one leave and kind of timely to fit into this discussion, if you will. He's leaving for a fairly large sum of money, increase, $4 more an hour in another community, which is their base salary starting. It's $4 an hour higher than what he's making here.
Which town?
Standish, yes. So he's moving over there, and he's a good guy, and he's a great firefighter, and he gave we talked with him when he came in and said he was going to do it, and he gave us a month's notice because he felt really bad. He didn't want to leave us high and dry and without coverage, and he's willing to stay on and do some per diem stuff. But then he kind of chuckled and said, "But I'm going to work in Falmouth, and they pay me almost $30 an hour as a paramedic." I said, we probably won't see a lot of it, unfortunately, with that kind of money out there. And I don't think we can adjust to that, obviously. So they just needed to throw that out there that we will need to, we've posted the position, and I'm cautious that we probably won't attract a lot of people. And I took a quick look at today, what was out there today, the other day, and who was starting at what, and unfortunately the bigger ones like Bangor didn't have their starting wages down, but Waterboro was $18.36 for a current position. Wyndham has a current position open, and the base starting rate is between $19.51 and $22.86.
And what exactly is that
that's
position?
Paramedic firefighter.
Okay, because
So,
I
yeah.
actually, like 2 weeks ago, saw something in there that they're just starting firefighter was $11.36
In which
in the Wyndham Eagle.
for
That's what
Wyndham
they're-
themselves?
Yeah.
That may be, their call rate's not even that low according to what
What
Libby.
I did is I pulled it out of the paper because
Yeah.
I was surprised because I was trying to match it up
Just-
with yours.
I'll get that one in a minute. Chief
that's what I was
Libby's
trying to
rate is
figure out.
$13.99 starting firefighter. EMT.
No, this one
So,
said firefighter. It was $11.36 or $11.56, but it was $11.
I don't know where that's from. This came right from the chief's mouth when we did it. So, yeah,
July 1st.
yeah.
Nope, this was probably, I'm going to say within the last month. It was no longer than that. So, I mean, I have it because I was kind of curious
Yeah,
when all this
I
was
don't
coming
know
about.
who it is, so we'd have to look into that, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But that came right from the chief, all these figures that you'll see in the next slide here do. They say, you know, some of these are bigger, obviously, than what we are, but Kennebunk at 22, Sanford's at 2060, Standish at $20+ an hour. There's
What's
many
Gray
more
and Poland
hiring,
and
so-
Casco?
Gray, Poland, we don't have Poland, and I don't know what happened to the data, we had it, but here we go. This becomes the comparison rate, so the top three are the call members, if you will, basically, because they don't necessarily have these in their full-time staffing. So the EMT firefighter, the EMT firefighter, et cetera. But when you get to the paramedic, generally, that's their full-time staffing and what they're paying, or their permanent per diems. So Casco made an adjustment this last year to be able to fill their shifts. New Gloucester is currently in workshops to do so, but they're currently at $17 an hour for the paramedic firefighter. Gray is at $17.75, and then you can see the Wyndham, like I just said, and where Standish is at $20.02. So the basic firefighter and basic EMT positions, where we're at $13.50 currently, Casco's at $14, New Gloucester $15, Gray was $11.97, and that's, again, these are call members. And Wyndham's range is between $13.99 and $19.89. So,
But that range is, the $13.99 is starting, and then the others are step increases.
step increases, yeah, that's their for that position, that's their range, complete top to bottom.
But I mean, if you're trying to recruit a first-year
Yeah.
person's not gonna get the $19.99.
No, I don't believe so.
13s, okay.
And unless they come in with stellar qualifications and certifications already, they may make that adjustment.
Yeah.
But someone who's just got their EMT certification, their firefighter certification, likely will be in that position of the $13.99. So this raise kind of put us closer, as you could see. There's not as big of a disparity there across the board. The Wyndham one is a note. They do that steps, so you can see that there is a COLA built in and steps built in and so forth. We do the base rate, and then we do merits. We have in the past. We didn't do that for these folks this year. Okay? That was just an adjustment to kind of bring the community's call membership in pay range to somewhat equal to the area, and now we can go back to the merits, if you will, and that was part of what they suggested as well, the membership.
Yeah. I mean, averaging is always tough, but
Yeah.
on average, how many hours a week are they getting?
Oh. What was that
Hour
figure?
counts?
Yeah.
I say on average, how many hours a week are
I
your?
didn't bring.
Kathy, why don't you
Yeah,
come
we
up so you're at the microphone too?
I didn't bring
Thanks.
manpower
Go back to
stats on that.
Slide, Bruce, that showed the
Oh,
membership.
hang on, let me go back to that then.
The average call member gets about 19
How do I get
hours,
backwards here?
if we go back.
This here?
Some of them get over 100 hours. We have a couple of retirees that do the bulk of the
I
work.
gotta get back to the pie
Um,
chart.
You can see in that slide, if he goes back, I
Trying to
think
figure it
the
out.
three
Right there. I got it.
the 4 retirees
I
that
can
we
see
do,
it,
if we
yeah.
average them, they do 68 to 90 hours a week. Would have to
There we
look at
are.
that.
Yeah, there it is. So, yeah, the last piece
So
over there is
percent of
the
shifts
average
covered,
hours.
average hours of worked. So our full-timers work on an average, I gotta look at Bruce's, sorry, I can't read.
Mine's not column. The part-time, full-time?
Full-time and part-time, if we average them out, they average 37 hours a week. The call company members, our average 19, our retirees average 65,
Yeah.
and our students average, what's that
35.
number? 35 hours a week.
Okay. And again, you know, it's
Does that help?
more some,
It
less
does,
others.
it does, because if, you know, if you back into something a little bit, and you say, okay, if they're averaging 20 hours a week, and you've got a $1 differential, that's $20. You put them at a 28% tax rate, they're taking home an extra $6 a week. You know, and is that the bigger thing, or is there other things that are really in play?
But when you talk about our students, the students are doing what, 37 hours?
37.
37
per
hours a week, and the retirees at 60-some, you gotta average it out. So, on the schedule,
But who, you know, where's your biggest critical mass you're trying to retain?
Call members.
call members.
So
Which
those,
retirees are call members.
they are, yeah. We just broke them out because it's just kind of an anomaly that that demographic, if you will, is doing so much of it. And part of it's because, one, they're around. I mean, they're retired.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just trying, you know, what I'm trying to, you know, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't have a fundamental issue with, you know, with compensating people for doing something.
Mhm.
But, you know, if, you know, it kind of rubs me the wrong way when I hear they're going down the street for $1 an hour. And when you really boil that down to what does that really make a difference, when they factor in transportation, when they factor everything else, what actually are they actually putting extra in their pocket for that? You know, that's not, that's why I say,
Yeah.
there's more to the pie than just
So-
$1 an hour.
They
There-
were going
there
to
are
Wyndham
other
for
things,
$5 an
but-
hour.
Correct. Wyndham is
$5
a five,
an hour.
was a $5 an hour difference, and 8 of our members actually physically work in other locations and other jobs so that they can make more money. So, for example, one of my students in the summertime, rather than being in Raymond, where he could be and gaining a lot of experience, works on the island for Kathy for more money per hour.
Nice job, Kathy.
I know, see? No, but it's the facts that, you know, I think it was $2 more an hour to go out there on a 12-hour shift. If you do it twice a week, that becomes fairly substantial to a kid who's only making $20,000 in a year's time anyway, so
Wait a minute.
it helps them. But-
Are you done with that?
Yeah, I can,
Those lights are the pits. I don't know if they're.
Yeah, they're terrible.
yeah,
Yeah, so if we can,
yeah.
only, yeah.
I think you might be able to see it more if we,
You want the one?
I could put us forward to the last.
No, I just, they're
It'll be easier to-
So-
they are.
You can probably see that fine.
Yep.
Yeah, that's better.
So, kind of, just a recap of that, but the membership concerns were these. One was getting hurt on the job and loss of income and security. Not adequately compensated for the level of training. And this came from membership to us. So this was partly in meetings and partly in our Survey Monkey that we did with the membership. Would like to contribute, if it's possible, to a town match retirement fund, and I'm not sure exactly how that would work. I know we can contribute, but maybe not get the match at this point at that level, so something to be explored anyways. And 83% felt that this was a job, not a hobby, in that the last piece, that they would like to continue with the merit system of recognition and keep up with the adjustments to keep up with the area, so that they, you know, if you work for $3 less an hour than the neighboring town, and I've seen this with some of our neighbors who pay a different fee structure, so they might pay a $25 per call out fee to each member. And when it comes to that big woods fire, and they're there for 16 hours, they're looking at us who are getting paid by the hour, and they're very upset that we're getting paid by the hour, and I'm now making 50 cents an hour maybe when I average it out, because it was only a $25 fee to begin with. So there's detriment and there's a plus to everything, but what they said to me, or what many members have said, is that they would really like to see us keep up with the Joneses, if you will. It's really not that, it's a bad term, but it's, let's keep close to the pace of everyone around so that the job pays the same. It's valued the same, if you will. And then the last piece of what we should do, and then the goals right after this. But obviously, we talked about many things and pieces that could be implemented. So the thought process is, maybe what we do is we look at the area pay rates or comparable pay rates 2 to 4 years out in a rotation, so that we're always at least doing a good analysis, and we can say, hey, you know, we are getting paid the right amount, or no, we're not. Provide, and this is a big one, and I think this will open up some further discussion, but a wage protection insurance. And they weren't really talking about an AFLAC, if you will, but something that pays on top of a workers' comp.
They're talking STD.
Yeah, something.
The problem you have with an STD, not that STD.
Can you
Hey.
Short-term disability.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Is that
Yes.
it's offset by what they get from workers' comp.
Correct.
So if, you know, first of all,
Even for all.
under that, you can only get, well, if if the town were to pay for it, they get 63%. If they're paying for it, they can get a little bit more, but, so you take that minus what they're getting from workers' comp, because that comes out of the short-term disability fund.
Yes.
So the extra that they're gonna get from that may not be all that much. When you're talking $1,000 a year premium,
Right.
that's based on someone at a $30,000 income that's about 30 years old. So it's about $1,000 a year for a short-term disability policy on that. But you're gonna pay a lot into that, but the probability of what you're gonna get back out of it may not be that high because if they're covered under workers' comp, that's gonna probably suck up about half of that. And then on top of that, if the town were to pay for it, they're gonna get taxed on that as
Correct.
income, which the workers' comp, they won't.
Right. Is
So
that,
it's, so
yeah.
it's one of those,
Problematic.
it can always, it can look good on paper until you actually delve into the details on it.
So everybody kind of understands how it came about. We have had, I can't mention names, we've had 3 people who have filed for claims, legit comp claims, have been disabled, have lost work. All 3 were denied. All 3 have had to go to comp hearings, fight the fight. In the meantime, months of lost
Yeah.
income, months of lost other stuff, because it's denied, they're paying the medical bills out of pocket to keep up and things like that the whole time because they were hurt on our job, if you will. One of them will likely not receive, and it's a hair splitting thing, but likely will not receive any of that money, or we will not be reversed type of thing, because it was a back injury and the person was released to come back to work 5 days after the injury, not 6, and workers' comp claims stated that he was an EMT, not a firefighter at that point in time. So therefore, if it was a firefighter, it would have been covered day 1. As an EMT, you're only covered after day 6 for lost wages. So multitudes of, there were shifts in other departments and communication centers where the person worked part-time at multiple other jobs that didn't get covered, if you will. So it becomes kind of problematic that we look at this and we expect our folks to do this job, and then the risk level's there, and a current incident has got a person fighting for that wage coverage and stuff. Maybe not so much for their full-time job, but what it did is it brought up the question, what if this injury took me out of my full-time job, where I make, let's just say $1,500 a week or $2,000 a week? Comp is not going to cover that.
Right.
It's just, the coverage is so low, plus the loss of wages at the fire rescue department and anything else that the people might do for additional income. So that became a big concern, and so they said, let's put it out, let's talk about it, because we were really interested in seeing what might be able to be done and may be able to help us. And that in itself is one of the top things that the folks in the department mentioned and said, we ought to really do that. We're a different animal. It's not that anybody else couldn't get hurt. We understand that. But I think we're different in that we expect someone to come from their, $75,000, $150,000 a year job out, help us, and put them at that risk, and then know that they might get hurt financially on that end too, big time. So the reason why I bring it up, and you're in the business, so you know a little bit more about this, obviously, than I do. So it's kind of looking at you folks to say, what really does work? What other options are there out there, and what could we maybe come up with for a solve for this?
I have a couple comments, I think,
Yeah.
on this too. Is, I looked down through everything you said on here, and one is the whole marketing thing. I think everybody's in that same boat. So I don't think doing a marketing would do it, just because everybody's putting out the Facebook, the reach out. You guys do the videos and stuff like that, and I know the one that you had talked about that left, without mentioning any names. Some of that stuff we can't touch because it's union. So that to me, it's almost like you can't compare that in there. And I'm looking at the rates, and I think we are close to where we are. I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I know over the years, once they've stepped up to the next level, I know you've come in and changed the pay rates to get them to where they need to be. But why are we not utilizing, I guess, and I know I'm probably gonna get a phone call tomorrow, why are we not utilizing like Public Works? The people, I mean, if we're shorthanded, drive maybe the fire truck or I don't know, and I'm not,
Yeah. No,
and
you're-
I'm saying it wrong only because I'm not belittling your guys' qualifications. Do you
No,
know
no,
what I
you're
mean
not.
by saying
Yeah,
that?
right. No, and we put a little section in the report about that.
Right.
And because, and I have some experience with this in a past life in another community where we did that and paid stipends for and things like that. It didn't work only in that the person who works days at the town office or wherever didn't want to come out at night and do training. So we never trained with those people, and there was never money in there to pay them to come in to do training. The part of the failure was the system itself. We can overcome that system if you so desire to, but you have to put those things in place right from the get-go and lay out the expectations. Public Works, to drive, they have to hold the training, have to take EVOC, have to take pumps classes, and be certified and just update those certs. And again, know the equipment 100%, and that's it.
No, I'm
They
just
can
saying
do that.
drive the truck, because
Yeah.
if they can drive dump trucks, loaders,
Right.
backhoes, all that stuff, can they just drive the
The
trucks in
hard
case
part
you
is then you have to have someone to operate the truck too. So, and this is, it's like the firefighter. When we train a firefighter or an EMT, it's, you get off that truck in the middle of the night and someone's not breathing, and you better know where the bag valve mask is, the AED is, and you're not searching that truck
Okay.
for this stuff. You've gotta know right now. This is seconds matter instantly. And you know how to put your air pack on at 2 a.m. in the snowstorm with flames pouring out of the house,
Okay.
things like that. So I'm not saying it can't be done, because it can.
Yep, there's more to it than,
But
yep, no,
there's
that's
more
what you're
to
saying,
it than just
Yep.
bringing the apparatus to the scene, yeah.
Do you think, because you've been doing this for over 30 years, that with the increased training, increased safety requirements, I mean, I've been doing this for a little longer than that, and I would say that I've noticed that the number of people who are willing to volunteer has decreased, you know, on a, I think, a fairly direct relationship basis to the increase in those other requirements. And is that, would you say that?
I'd say that's absolutely a fair statement, and everything has increased. And a quick example, in that same past life, there was 14 people assigned to my engine. There were 3 engines in the same station when I started. We had the least in my engine. 10 years later, when I left, there were 5 active people on that engine. 14 of them were active when I got there. But the rule changes, people were just throwing their hands in the air and saying, I'm not going to do that. It was back in '81 we were seeing this. So that decline started a long time ago.
Yeah.
What I observed, you know, when I first started was it was more, I wouldn't say a social club, but it had more of the social club elements.
Yes.
The guys would stop in from the, you know, paper mill in that particular town. They would hang out. You know, oftentimes a call might come in the evening and they would respond to it. They didn't have, you know, the level of safety gear training or,
Correct.
I mean, you didn't have to have EVOC classes or any kind of training to drive the trucks.
Yep.
It was a different world.
It was, and kind of feeding into that anecdotally, but true, is that everybody's got their thing about regionalizing. People don't like the word regionalizing. We're doing it, and they just don't realize.
We are doing it because of all the
Correct.
mutual aid.
Because
I mean, if we're
automatically,
mutual aiding everything to death,
everybody's
then
training standards are the same. So
Yeah.
if you're an EMT, I'm an EMT. We are trained to that standard. It doesn't matter if you're in Holton and I'm in York County. Same with the firefighter now. So beyond what people might think and want, we're there. It's just putting the pieces together and actually making something happen. Unfortunately, I don't know why, I don't see it coming to fruition without a forceful hand. And at my level, I don't have that forceful hand. I can't go into another town and say, you will regionalize with us.
well, you know, at
Doesn't
some
work.
point, it's going to almost, I
Yeah.
would think, force itself into it, because if so much of what's being done in all the towns right now is mutual aid, okay, and if Raymond is paying $14 an hour, Wyndham's paying $16 an hour, but they're all still going to the same place. Wyndham is paying more than Raymond is, you know, and so
Yep.
now, what's the town gonna do? The town at some point is gonna say, wait a minute, you know, we're sending everybody to the same place, and we're paying them more to go to that same place.
Yes.
Why? You know, and so at what point does,
Yeah.
do you get into a good regional setup that says, now everybody that's in the region is
Mhm.
at, and you're all, you're gonna have to hammer heads to get there ultimately. But I mean, you're gonna say everybody that goes to a thing is getting the same rate. Bang, now you don't have that problem.
I think that's a big piece of it, Rolf, and to be honest, I think that's a part we gotta get through, to make it happen. And there's many more pieces of it, but it's not something that's insurmountable. This could happen. I look at it and I'm
Scary
excited and I
common
wanna do it,
sense
and then the
that
next day I hear from other people and I go, oh, it's never gonna happen in my career. But,
We are starting to
So-
see, I mean, you know this.
Yes,
It isn't in your particular area at this time,
right.
but we are seeing, I think, a dramatic change in the outlook of our neighboring communities to the west, which, size-wise, at least population-wise, call-wise, maybe, more similar to us. But they've come to us, both towns have approached us about working together. We formalized some arrangements in the animal control area. We're working on public works areas. I asked the question specifically, what about public safety? Is this, and for Casco, I think it's a real possibility now.
Could be.
And I think it also is a possibility with potentially Naples. So it's not gonna happen overnight, but I think that there is an opening now. We're starting to baby step into, working together. And of course, there's always Fry Island. We've been working with Fry Island, and that's worked out really well for Kathy, I think, and for some others. But we are working more closely with Fry Island.
And some of the steps, you're right on, and some of the steps are maybe baby steps, but they aren't. So right now, tonight, there's a class in our station, and it's a basic fire school that's going on. And there are students representing 6 towns local to us there, and we're coordinating that. So that's one of the things, and every Tuesday night, that will be happening through December, and many Saturdays and a few Sundays it's gonna happen as well. So these 14, 15 people are getting together at our station and learning together, which means, and we're as far away as North Yarmouth. But we also work together with North Yarmouth, believe it or not, on fires here in Raymond, et cetera, and across the borders back to them. So that's the extent that mutual aid has really gone. It's grown, it's awesome.
Training, training is all, is a big dollars and cents thing.
It is.
And, that's a big hit for any of them trying to get in there.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea what the total that's being paid training-wise in the region? And does that make sense to go into a regional approach and just have
Yeah.
the towns throw in to a training budget there? You send your people to that, to a consolidated thing that's
Right.
going to work.
Most of our EMS, if you will, trainings are done through APEMS, or Atlantic Partners EMS, which has 6 regions in the state of Maine, or United Ambulance. Fire trainings and fire academies, like our fire school that we do in the summertime, and our paramedic who's leaving us coordinated the academy for the live-in students. It's a 4-week intense academy. That's one of those regional efforts. And another one that's Penobscot Valley, that group, which is Gorham, Wyndham, et cetera, that coordinate a winter school. So we're already kind of doing that and pooling those resources and keeping costs down by doing so. Yeah.
I'm looking for her. Just following up on Ralph's earlier thing and tying it into the training, if we were to come up with a regionalized training program, let's say you talk about these, towns that are working together at your station, what if the towns in our region said, we're going to, collaborate on the training, we're going to share the cost, and we're going to qualify our members all together. And then we're going to say, once you reach this certain qualification, you'll call a member qualified, you're going to have this base rate, and that's going to be the standardized rate across the system. And to follow up on Ralph's earlier notion, if I'm following it, then you come up with a plan that, is standardized across an area where you're working collaboratively. Does that have any merit?
It does, and I wish it was as simple as it sounds.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking.
Chuckle is a good response. I just throw this out there. So people that work at South Wyndham Station are shared between Gorham and Wyndham. So you have that info. Gorham pays for one of the per diems who's making, I think it's $14.50 something an hour as an EMT firefighter. The Wyndham paramedic's making what their scale was, which was 16, 18, something like that. They're doing the same job in the same station on the same truck. It's, we can't even get it where we share trucks and stations, and they do share the cost of the station, share the cost of the ladder truck that's in that building. But yet we still can't get those pay rates.
But I'm saying everybody's having the same problem. Why can't that be a topic of discussion at your
It
chief's
should be.
meeting?
It should
And
be.
could you come up with some solution? Is that
And I'll
something
hear a
you look
phone
at?
call from this tomorrow myself, probably, if any of my area chiefs are watching, but I go to a chiefs meeting and there's more, if ego were dynamite, we could fight World War III.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's how some of these meetings go. It's getting a lot better, and our area here is a lot better, so if anybody's watching, our area is a lot better. So, it would be a challenge. It would be a big challenge in order to get those standardized. I think that we could do it on a smaller scale, Dawn. I really do believe that we may be able to do it. It would be up to the boards of those communities, though, and you know, I don't know how willing some of them may be to move rates up. For instance, New Gloucester has been in almost a battle to try to get their pay. They're having a really, really hard time. They're not having these productive chats and reports written and things like that. It's a bad scenario over there. So I'm cautiously optimistic again. I like that word.
Well, I just think it would be better, I think it would be better to find a way to collaborate with your neighbors than be in a
Yes.
constant cycle of competition
Yes.
Yeah.
against one another when, as Ralph says, you're drawing the same people to do the same work and working together anyway on mutual aid, if that's what you're
You
saying.
all have the same step programs.
Same
that,
things.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what happens is everybody.
Is that in the same world as everybody gets a trophy?
Yes.
Kind of, yes.
I mean, when does that work?
Yes.
It doesn't, in my book,
Well-
it doesn't.
Are all the
But-
public works departments in all these towns gonna pay the same?
No.
No.
And firefighters are gonna say, well, why are you making us? Just,
Yeah, and the argument back's gonna be, Wyndham, we do 3,000 plus calls a year, we're far more busy
No, but I'm
and
thinking it's
challenged.
more on a step
We should get more.
program too, but then you're looking Raymond, as far as what Raymond has compared to what Wyndham, the big town, the more the business, and it's definitely not apples to apples, you know what I mean, so,
I mean, you know, at the end of the day, one of two things is gonna happen. Either you're gonna have some, you know, you're gonna have some blending of rates, or you're gonna have a winnowing down of a department, which means you're gonna get more mutual aid from the other, which means that town's gonna turn around at some point and say, listen, if we're mutual aiding you more than you're mutual aiding us, we want some back. So at the end of the day, you
Yes.
still have, you know, you're still putting the same amount of dollars out.
Those,
So the question is, you know, how do you start to work that so it doesn't become adversarial
right.
and everybody can find a way to make the thing work together?
I wish I had that answer, I really do. It would be so much easier. And you asked about Poland, and I just don't know where their rates went when we plugged them in, but I do know the chief over there fairly well. We've worked together for many years, and actually when I asked him for his rates, he said, I'm not gonna tell you because you'll just up your rates and then we're in the same boat, quote, unquote. I can say that because Mark's a friend of mine. But
yeah,
but by the
because they
same
don't want
token,
to
In
see
fact,
it
it's
as
probably on
much
their
as- yeah.
website.
it's freedom of info. I said, Mark, just give me the info, you know, so anyway, he did, but that very discussion came up because Poland was doing so much mutual aid to one of their mutual aid partners, it was like a 10-to-1 ratio. Their board actually sat down and said, we gotta stop doing it.
Well, we created Casco, I mean, because we complained
Correct.
about Casco and
Yeah.
going there more than they were coming here.
Right.
And so their response was to, hire people
Step
and
up
to
and do it.
increase wages, which worked for them.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
So moving this along though too, is I think one of the things that you put in here too is the merit pay.
Yes.
And to me, being covered under that merit pay would be like the certifications, their steps to their next things, instead of switching them, but to work towards that to move up. But I think you'd almost have to do up a step program. You don't have that now, do you?
We do not have
Okay.
have a step per annual or per, it's gotta be a benchmark, like a 5-year or whatever, or it's gotta work with the certification should be paid per cert. So I guess I'll retract that and say, 3 to 5 year increments, you do steps, and that's kind of a reward for, hey, you stayed with us, you're active, you meet the criteria of an active member, and you remember in good standing, if you will, that
Well,
terminology.
I would assume if they're getting additional certifications, they're moving up
They're
a
moving
level
up.
anyway, so they're getting an increase due to the certification.
Yeah.
And then you'd be whatever the steps are in that new pay grade.
Correct. So
Because,
yes.
like teachers would do it how many years as far as the masters, the bachelors, that type of thing, you know,
I mean,
and
I mean, I guess, I mean, wages are always one thing, but I mean, when you look at it, where's the big heartburn for someone coming in new? It's upfronting the training costs.
Correct.
And so, if we were, if we look at that piece of the puzzle and say, okay, what can we do there? And you have to be a little cautious in saying that, if we go and pay it up front, now the person gets trained and they walk away.
Correct.
So you got to, there has to be, there's got to be a little bit of working there, and I read your thing there, about having them do a contract. Well, that's all well and good.
There's no
but
bite
at
to
the end
that
of- But at the end of the
contract.
day, you can't get blood from a turnip. If
Correct.
somebody walks away, you're not going to get it back. So I mean, you really, how do we come up with something that's a workable solution there? Because I don't believe they should be paying that out of pocket. I mean that they're doing it that a certification that's being hoisted on them by
Yes.
not their choice.
Correct.
And so, I look at that as a bigger area, because what are the other towns doing in regards
Well,
to that?
You may.
That's a big topic of discussion.
You've got a couple other towns under you.
A lot of guys, girls, when they go to work for a town, they may come in at an EMT level, and their contract with that town to get hired full-time will say you'd have to go to an advanced or a paramedic level within so many years. But what those towns do is they cover their shifts when they're in school. They pay them for their regular shifts when they're in school, plus they pay for their schooling. And we're talking $10,000 for a paramedic, just the class cost, never mind the 2 years of covering your shifts, because the towns want you to be paramedics. Now back to Rolf's comment about our guys advancing. Most of ours, 90% stay at the EMT basic level. And really, that's where we want the call company to be for a couple of reasons. One, if I'm only going to do 3 night shifts a month and I want to go to an advanced or a paramedic level, I don't get enough call volume to stay good, to keep my skills up. So having them as basic EMTs really is where most of the call company members should be. We have 3 advanced. I'm the only paramedic in the call company. The rest are basic EMTs. To have them cross-trained is great. We want them to be firefighter 1 and 2 and an EMT. We've talked to the town manager, and in this budget, we're hoping to pay for some of those costs. Cost of an EMT or a fighter class is about $1,000 each. So what we've proposed is that we'll pay for their class. Some of them will do half up front. We'll cover the other half. What we were doing before is they paid the whole thing up front. After the first year, we gave them half back, and after the second year of service, we paid the other half back. So they had to work for 2 years. But for a new guy coming in for a job, wanting to make some money, having to shell out $1,000 and all of those hours of going to schooling is totally on their own, and that's hard. That's where we lost some folks. So a lot of the towns pay for that up front. Not everybody. Most. The cities all pay for it, and the bigger towns.
Wyndham pays their time.
Wyndham
yeah.
does pay for their time and that. We pay for our trainings if they're in-house trainings. They get an hourly pay for that. But when they go out of town to do a specialized training or a class, we don't pay that. And that hurts at times.
Is that out of town, is that recommended by you, or is that something that they want to take on their own?
Combination of both, Marshall.
Okay, so I think you did split hairs there. If you recommend it, you pay for it, and if not.
Yeah.
But right now, we don't have that budget big enough to do that, and that's what we're working on, trying to see how we can increase the training.
Well, that's one of the questions I had, and I'll lay it out now, is that the last budget cycle, we increased your salaries by 13.6, plus there was another 10 coming out of the merit pay. and evidently that wasn't enough. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, that 13.6 gave them that $2 bump to
That
get
was the
them really
$2 bump.
close. But it didn't affect our 2 part-time firefighter paramedics. They got a merit, and one got a 25-cent an hour raise, and the other one got a 30-something. I can tell you honestly, they're not real happy. And it didn't affect the union or administration, which is fine for the chief and I. The union, I think you're gonna see, they're gonna come in with this next contract and be looking for some big increases.
Well-
Whether or not they get it,
And they're not happy, but that wasn't us. That was you guys, right?
we originally had put them
Put it
in
in
for
for
that,
everybody.
but then
Okay,
it got bumped back.
okay.
By you.
No.
Yeah, I don't,
We didn't bump it.
yeah, I don't think it,
Budget finance didn't bump it out, I don't
Yeah, I don't know where it was,
Are you
we were
throwing it
told that it
selectmen?
was only
think.
the
No,
call
I'm not throwing,
members.
no, because it's.
No, we were told it was
Yeah.
only
That's
call
something to-
company
yeah.
members. That's where it got,
I'm sorry, I got where?
it was only call company members that the $2 an hour would
Yeah,
affect.
that
Oh,
was the
but that's what was-
presentation,
yes,
And that was the
okay.
original driving force
Yes.
behind that, is we need to increase our call membership,
Yes,
not all these other.
Yes.
So has that worked?
so we have actually, fortunately, had just taken in 5 people, new, to us. Partly, I'm gonna say it's due to the campaign. One of them was very excited that this becomes a part-time job for them, because they just got out of the military and are looking for something to do while they go to school, and it's right up the alley of where they wanna be with their career. So very excited, and excited that it paid a little bit of money so they could make some doing it.
But he was also very honest in the fact that he needed to get his EMT because
Yes.
Portland demanded an EMT before he started Portland Fire.
He's gotta go there.
That's his goal.
Yeah. It doesn't mean he'll move,
You can't-
move there.
You can't compete with that.
No, you can't.
Some guys wanna go to big cities, and I'm telling you right now, guys that go to big cities burn out quicker than
Correct.
guys that go to small towns.
So
We
we took
appeal
in-
to
sorry,
new
Chief.
people and retired people, if you will.
Yeah,
Really, that's what we
Yeah,
appeal
burn out.
for full-time staff.
So we have 5 new ones in the process, a new membership process right now. 4 of them are in the class, the
Yep.
BLS fire class starting.
All 5 of them.
I would say that out of those 5, maybe 2 will be long-term,
Yeah.
looking at them and that. But with that, we have 2 that, not counting the paramedic, that firefighter that just gave notice, but we have 2 that just moved out of town. So we lost 2.
you can't.
And then we have 2 others that are looking for a house out of town, a married couple. So, we gained 5, but we probably lost 5 also.
Seems
Why
to
are
be
they,
the
why are they looking out of town?
Uh, Why can't they
Cost.
buy a house in Raymond?
Cost.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
What do you think you've got this thing you're going to the end of the month, the middle of the month or whatever in Vermont?
yes,
What are
Yes.
you expecting is gonna, some of the topics there?
well, it's gonna be very good, I think. I've talked to some of the folks that put this on. So it's part of the National Volunteer Fire Council, it's the Eastern Division, and I've spoken to a few of the chiefs involved with it, some of them that are in Massachusetts, et cetera. The systems that they run are very different, and they have been for a long time, so. Some of them are running call member departments, they don't, big call member departments that are covering 30,000 people. They have 3 full-timers, and that's it. I say that's big, but it's big compared to us, so.
Can we back up a slide?
If you wanna back up a slide, sure. Here we go.
Prioritize those for us, Bruce.
I think we put them pretty much close to, wage protection actually should be the number 1. And according to the folks in the department, they continue to adjust the rates, like maybe a step program. The next one would be to be really concerned with our hard to fill shifts. That's not going away. I think honestly, we have to be honest about it. I think we could throw $20 an hour out there for a basic EMT and not cover every weekend, because be honest, if you get a weekend you want to take off in the summer, you're going to take off, right?
I don't think you are either, and I'm looking at some of
Yeah.
these turnover things that you have, and they're legit. They really are. You know what I mean? And what you have, and that's
Yep.
why I asked what the time frame was, 2012, and so you can't lay that, and unless you want to tell them to stop spending time with their kids, and I think
No,
if you're finding, yeah, well, right, but you're finding this in everything that's going on.
everywhere.
Coaches aren't stepping up. boosters aren't stepping up. I mean,
Board
there's,
members aren't stepping up.
yeah, I mean, Lions Club, everything. It's,
Right, yeah.
at one point, I'm hoping that it gets past this wave and people start to come out again, you know what I mean, and start stepping up to fill it.
And not advocating that this should ever happen, but you hit high points when big disasters happen.
Mhm.
So, a major forest fire or a terrorist attack or things, that sparks interest of people. Okay, it really, but yeah, that's probably poor terminology. It generates
He
some
is such a word
interest
man, you have to
in-
watch your
yes,
words,
yes. Pun was not intended. So, anyways, that does spark some interest in it, and anyways, that's really what it is. And I don't want those things to happen to spark the interest. Our marketing seems to bring some people in, and it seems to work, but the attrition rate seems to always grow, and it's gonna be that cyclic thing, there's no doubt. I can't say no, if you paid $2 an hour across the board, that we would have a different rate. Or if we paid $30,
I think
we'd
you
have a
offer a
different
lot
rate.
to them compared to
But-
that list that you stuck out there too.
Just that we should keep up, and,
Yep.
and that helps, and then be concerned with some of these other things. The reason why we threw in the retirements in there, and that came up from the membership as well, and said, you know, that kind of promotes longevity.
Yep.
And that's the reason why I felt so important about that, and the contribution, if we think about it, at a 5% of the gross wage or whatever it is that the town would pay into it, really isn't a lot of money when you're talking, some of these people are only bringing home $300, $400, $500 a month, if you will, from our department. Others are bringing home a lot more than that, but, so when we average it all out, that looks like a very viable option as something that might promote longevity. I don't, as I tried to be real plain in the report, there's no magic bullet, and there isn't, and I'm very cautious about saying this will work, that'll work. Every class that we've been to, all the programs, all the groups, the professional groups that we belong to, talk about this ad nauseum, and there is nothing that works here that might work there. It might be totally different. So I throw these out and say we ought to try them, maybe some of them, and see where we're at. But
So, I guess to keep this meeting
Yeah.
moving forward, but not doing this, what does the board want to do here on this?
Well, let's rephrase that.
No, no,
What does Bruce want the board?
well, no, honestly, I think this might be open to like a workshop, to be quite honest, instead of a meeting. So where we're not sitting, doing meeting stuff, so we can, okay, you did things in priorities, let's do a little bit more information on those priority things that you think may work.
yeah, and to be honest, knowing maybe a little bit about what direction you may want to really explore would help us narrow down, so we're not putting a ton of time into 15 things, but maybe really focus on 3 or 4 things that we really feel are priority, and get all the data on it.
One of the questions that came up in the last budget cycle was, are you approaching a full-time fire department?
Correct. And we're moving closer every year, there is no doubt.
Maybe one of the things you could do is give us an overview on what you think that would look like. Not now, but in the budget cycle when that comes out.
1.3 million increase is something to cover with 5 people around the clock, which was fairly substantial.
But you,
But at the same time,
Yeah,
if you did that, are you still in the same situation? You
Right.
still,
Correct.
you have a finite number of people that you could fill the positions with, so.
it's
you
the
know,
same,
so,
yeah, there's
you know,
no
the
answer.
idea of going there may be admirable,
Yeah.
but can you actually do it?
right,
You know, It's
and
2 different questions.
I'm still gonna, I like talking about it, I don't mind it, and I'll talk with anybody, talk your ear off, actually, but keep me at bay. Anyways, but to maintain, the bottom line here, to maintain the cost effectiveness of a combination department that kind of blends the two together, I think, for me, is really what we need to be seriously looking at. How long can we maintain it, though? That's another story. I do believe that what we get for the money we spend on it is a definite benefit to the community. As weak as it can be at times, and as many issues as we may have, and we have to talk about, that combination department's still a very cost-effective system. Is it perfect? No, it doesn't guarantee you're
No,
gonna
you're not
get
gonna
10
have it.
people out the door to a fire, but the system we have gives us, 4 or 5 if we fill all those slots every time, and that's pretty much a guarantee.
So,
The first slide out, you said you had 900 incidents last year. How many of those were really fire events?
I did bring that data with me.
32.
32 were fire events.
And the rest are auto accidents?
EMS calls were about
EMS
500.
calls.
Hazardous conditions, hazmat, severe weather disaster type stuff, flooding,
How about,
trees, chimneys.
What's the word reciprocating with David Pounds?
Mutual aid.
Mutual aid,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mutual aid. I gotta search for that one. Plus, that's not on the front page. And it's not alphabetized because they're coded by numbers now.
That's okay, don't.
Roughly 179 duplicate or triplicate calls, meaning we're out the door for two or three different things, 179 times a year last year. That figure I remember off the top of my head. About 40 times out of town and probably, about 80 times out of town and probably 40 to 50 in town last year.
We probably get more
of
mutual
coverage.
aid from Wyndham right now.
Yeah, we get more from
Because
them.
we
Coming
have a
this way.
ladder truck
Yeah.
on a lot of our calls.
Yeah.
Leading aid.
Yeah, because of the high life hazard potential, we call the ladder automatically, and their alarms go off frequently, so we do have that.
Okay.
alright, so what I'd like to do is move this towards more discussion, like in a workshop type thing, you know what I mean? So where we're not
Yep.
going through a bunch of other stuff, where we can sit and do this and say, okay, Bruce, this is what we look. I agree with you. I don't think that, there is no easy answer, and I think no matter what, I'd like to personally see a step program, you know what I mean?
Salary stuff. right?
Yeah, salary steps, and see if you can put that together for a workshop.
Yep. Can do that.
So do you guys, how much time do you need?
If everything
Well, I'd like,
stays
I mean,
good.
I would wanna wait almost until after he comes back from Vermont,
Yeah, I'll be back
because
in there.
who knows what you're gonna pick up there.
There's a lot of info I plan on, I hope to get, I really do.
I'm also going to the ICMA conference next week, and I'll pay particular attention to see if there's anything there, because this is a national issue.
Yes.
Then, not that I'm putting it off then, let's
Yeah.
get that stuff done, get
Right,
with
right.
him to get it on a workshop, not a workshop agenda type thing, you know what I mean? So that way, I
can
don't
do
wanna
that.
just throw it out there, but you can coordinate it with him.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
we can get more information together, and then we can work on more,
Yeah.
so we can problem solve on that.
Right.
There's, you know, there's some good work that's in there.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, well, you know.
I hate not
let's-
answering it, but there is
But
no
I
answer
mean,
yet.
you know, I don't think, I mean, I can't believe you came here expecting that we're gonna say, you know, here's what we're, you know, walk out of here, here's what we're
No,
gonna do.
no, I
So,
was
yeah.
looking for this very dialogue to occur, and let's see where we're at, because, you know, like I said, there is no answer, and you may have a better mousetrap than I'm thinking of right now. I mean, sometimes you get buried in the forest through the trees syndrome.
If we were the only ones that it was happening to, I'd be saying,
Oh,
okay, what
yeah.
are we doing wrong?
Oh,
But
yeah.
we're not, exactly, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Correct.
how do we hang that cheese in front of
Yeah,
any,
and despite everything that, you know, we're talking about, and I don't mean to sound doom and gloom or despair here, but we have a very good department and we do very well when we compare to others, there's no doubt, so. You've seen the progress, I mean, we get Heart Safe accreditation, we're ISO 4, you know, we've done some big things, so. It's just we need to make sure we're keeping it going, and I do believe in that cost-effective approach of the combination department until it's time that we really have to look. And I think when we really have to look, we're at the phase of a regional department. And that's, again, for thought process is something that's not a cut in staffing or a cut in cost. It's actually an improvement and an increase to make things work better.
and then add in onto that, yeah,
Add
so
on.
cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yes. See if
Thanks,
we can make
Kathy.
this thing
Thank
work.
you, Kathy.
And Kathy approves.
That last big storm we had, I'm driving through Gray, New Gloucester, and we're following the ambulance, and who pops out? But Kathy, I said, that's Kathy Goslin, it just popped out, yeah, there's, ambulance call. All right, moving
I
along.
think I can do it right.
Can I have a motion to table the presentation of the vaping?
Move to table 3A indefinitely.
That was the vaping.
The vaping thing, second.
All in favor? So it's taken care of one here. All right, this next one, approve warrant for October special town meeting. I'm gonna say something before Sue does on that one. We have a situation where we don't have a lot of people stepping up to some of these boards, the zoning boards and the zoning board of appeal, the planning board and the zoning board of appeals. We have one person that is on both of them right now. So in order to, and Sue, correct me if I'm wrong, in order to fix that, we need to change the wording that we have to be able to let her be on both of them. And we've changed it, so the planning board now reports, I believe, to the Superior Court, and they don't report to the Zoning Board of Appeals anymore, so there's not a conflict there. But I want her to be able to be on both boards, and we have asked the person that it's referring to, and she does want to be on both boards. So you can add on to anything onto that.
Well, and the other part is this is correcting something that should have been put in place when the change to the zoning was made, or the ordinance. Because when the ZBA was hearing the appeals of the planning board decisions, I mean, they couldn't be on the same, you couldn't have two people on the same board, because they'd be hearing an appeal of their own decision. But since the planning board was moved to Superior Court to hear all of their appeals, and the ZBA is only hearing the code enforcement officer, as soon as that change was made in the ordinance, it should have been also made in this miscellaneous ordinance, and it was not.
The
It was
problem
missed.
that I have with that theory
Mhm.
is that the presentations to the planning board are coming from the code enforcement.
So one's
Here's my
Jim Seymour's and one's Scott's. It was my understanding is because what happened is I remember Scott saying something to me. He goes, "No, that's Jim Seymour's. Scott's is the Zoning Board of Appeals,
Yes,
and I think Jim Seymour's is the Planning Board."
that's correct.
Here's my bottom line on this issue. Mary Costigan
Mhm.
did a nice presentation in June about the conduct of the ZBA.
Mhm.
If she wants to come up with a legal opinion on this issue, we'll abide by that.
Well, okay.
If she doesn't think there's a conflict between the two boards, I'm okay with it. But I can see some gray areas in her presentation in June.
Yeah, I can just tell you what I read in Maine statute.
Okay,
Mhm.
and that's fine, but I think we need to be a little careful on when we start about land use and planning and all that.
Well, right,
that
and I
goes with
think because we did separate that, that's why I wanted to make sure, because we have somebody that,
Oh, and God bless her for doing both.
well,
but,
exactly,
yeah.
but on the other hand is, I don't want any conflict of anybody coming back
And
later
I don't want
saying that
anything
we've
coming
got.
back on her because.
Exactly, or the town saying that, okay, this is a conflict because she has voted, but I don't think there's been any vote
Right.
on anything since
Correct.
this whole thing has happened. So, is that what the board chooses to do, is get an opinion from Mary Costigan, and if she does not have if she doesn't have a problem with it, move forward with the October matter, or how do you guys want to handle this?
Well, when would she come back with an opinion?
That should be very quick because isn't it?
So I
Tomorrow?
mean, you could
Yeah.
approve the, all we're doing is approving the special town meeting.
Right.
So we're not, so if she would have that information prior to that. The only other thing I would suggest is in the wording, where we're doing a change, why do we not say, i.e. members of the Board of Selectmen, the RSU 14 board and/or town school board, and the Budget Finance Committee? So we don't, a year or so down the road, have to go and amend this again. Because right now, if this were to go through, you could have someone on the town school board as well as Budget Finance or something else.
Agreed.
And
But
so
there-
if you're doing a wording change, why not change it for, just make that a RSU 14 Board of Directors and/or town school board?
Because we have no town school board.
Right.
And unless the
So if it doesn't exist, you can't have the conflict, but as soon as it does, then you either have to
We have to
redo the
change it
ordinance.
again.
So why not change the ordinance in anticipation of something that might happen? Because it has no effect on it if that board doesn't exist. As soon as it does exist, you now have an inherent conflict that you have to address.
All you can see is Sue's eyebrows, whether they're straight or they turn up when she's not sure what's going on because of her
I'm-
laptop.
I mean, you see what is,
I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure it's good practice
To anticipate, and it might be being a bit presumptuous. Yes, that, in thinking that the withdrawal is going to be successful.
I don't think you
It might be
are.
perceived as,
Yeah.
and
Eric?
perception,
Yeah.
at least in the town office, is everything.
Don't jinx us.
So I think that might be, I mean, that's, I serve at your pleasure, so whatever you
I
decide.
mean, you know, it's either that or,
Or we have to come back and
you have to immediately at that point come back and
But-
redo the ordinance.
But also, that's quite a ways out still.
Yeah.
So, and it would probably be, they tend to aim for a November election. So we're talking at least a year from this November, at the very least, before that would be in line.
You mean at the very earliest?
So, and that, then we would not necessarily have to do it until the following town meeting, regular town meeting. So we are talking a bit out there. So am I hearing that you want the motion to be something to the effect that the warrant is approved contingent upon approval of the wording with Mary Costigan and her approval of the concept?
No.
No, all we're
Okay.
doing, all we're
No.
approving is the special town meeting. We're not making a recommendation on the warrant.
So do you want,
Right.
do you still want to have a special town meeting in October?
Well, that's just it. So if she
Because
doesn't,
timing for notice and things is
we could
tight
probably
with
get
this.
word Dawn tomorrow, next day, so we can, if we have to cancel it, we can cancel it quickly. You know what I mean?
I would say, schedule it and approve it contingent upon a favorable, ruling from Mary Costigan. If you don't get one, then done.
Cancel it.
He looks at us
I'm
like
sorry.
it's so simple.
Other than that, you would need to have an emergency selectmen's meeting to approve the warrant.
We could do that. The motion on the table is to approve.
You don't really have one yet, so.
Okay, so I'll put a motion on the table
Okay.
to approve the special town meeting scheduled for October 11th, is it?
9th.
9th, I'm sorry, October 9th.
Second that, will that allow us to hear Louise?
Louise Lester, 10 Hartley Lane. I have a little problem with this simply because I thought it was a town policy to only change ordinances at the annual town meeting so that the whole town could have notice and could be present if they wish to be rather than at a special town meeting.
You're right. You're right on that. And what my concern is, again, and I'm going to repeat it again, was I want to make sure that if she is on this board, voted in now, well, she's on both these boards now, that if there's any vote that is taken, because my concern is we're going to be losing people off of the planning board, is what it is. So if we don't have enough people to have a planning board, then we're going to be in trouble. Does that make sense? We have one person on there now that's moving.
I understand that full boards are important.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a problem with your board being criticized for allowing too much influence on two boards by the same person.
I'm sorry, one more time on that one.
In other words,
Our board
you're
being
allowing
two-
one person to have influence on two separate boards that are connected. Planning board and appeals board, to me, are connected. And
Okay.
it would make me uncomfortable as a citizen of Raymond to know that a single person had influence on both boards.
Okay.
And that's exactly why I
Okay.
asked for Mary Costigan to give us an opinion, and the opinion would be based on the duties and responsibilities of the planning board and the duties and responsibilities of ZBA, and do they conflict in any way?
And it's not, just so I'm perfectly clear too, is it's not to push something through fast either. Do you know what I mean? It's not. Again, we do not have people lining up, but on the other hand, saying that, I don't want people that are just in there just because they're warm bodies either. Do you know what I
Resume
mean?
stuffers,
Yes.
it's my favorite expression. That's why I sit back and say that.
And he's sitting back in his chair, so he's looking for a fight, as you can tell.
No,
So, yeah, I'm fine with anything. So, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to? I don't know how to proceed on this one. Then
There's a motion on the table.
I know it's still in discussion.
Right.
So,
there was a second to the motion.
There was a second.
There was.
to the motion,
Yes.
so it's still in
So if
discussion.
discussion's closed, then you bring it to a vote.
If I'm opposed,
If you're opposed, you vote no.
Well, I thought we were still talking.
We're still in discussion, and
We're
I
still in
think
discussion.
Louise's point is valid. and
Yeah.
I think Mary Costigan's opinion would satisfy that, for me at least it would. But if we have the opinion on it, is there a conflict between the zoning board of appeals rights and responsibilities and the planning board's rights and responsibilities, or duties and responsibilities? Is there an inherent conflict between the two boards?
Right. So I'm saying, find that out and make the approval
Yeah.
contingent on that.
Exactly. Moved and seconded.
May I? To avoid some of what Louise is talking about, because her point of having the things at open town meeting where there's plenty of notice is very well taken.
Mm-hmm.
If the warrant isn't approved tonight contingent upon what Mary Costigan says, and you have to meet again, we'll have to notice that meeting, meet again, and that cuts the amount of time between now and the special town meeting that this motion would set in motion,
Well, then you would move the date of the special town meeting. There's nothing magical about October 9th.
No. It
Is
was
having
there,
to be
is
the
there a
next meeting.
reason not to extend that to November 9th?
It was my doing, because I just wanted the
You want it
matter.
done, I know, but.
No, not want it done. I guess I wanted it cleaned up. Yeah.
Right, and I don't think ZBA's got anything on their table right now that
They actually do.
they
Yeah.
do, okay, so we need to,
Planning board is working on some things too.
well, I'm not worried about planning board, it's ZBA.
CBA.
Yeah, no, they are. I don't know. I honestly don't know how to vote on this. To vote it down or because I'm voting down your motion based on Mary, but there's a lot of good points that are brought up too.
Well, we're voting down the scheduling of a special town meeting on October 11th,
Well, didn't you?
October
That's-
9th.
October 9th.
And what was? I'm sorry. Your
You like the-
motion
That's
was
the
to.
motion, to schedule the special town meeting on October 9th.
I thought you said we were voting it down.
I can say well
The
done.
motion on the floor is to approve the special town meeting. That's the motion that's active.
Which goes
Yeah.
against the ordinance
No,
only being done once a year at town meeting,
Right. so,
I know.
which
that's
is
why.
valid.
so I mean,
is.
essentially,
That's why I don't wanna vote
you
for
have,
the
you
motion.
have an active motion on the table, which
Okay.
is to schedule that meeting. If you vote no, then the special town meeting does not get scheduled, and it can be revisited at another time. If you vote yes, then the meeting is scheduled, that's all that's doing. You're not saying whether you agree with the ordinance or not. All you're doing
It's
is,
got nothing to do with the ordinance.
all you're saying is whether you want to schedule the special town
But
meeting.
it does
So
have
that's
something to
that's
do
the
with
only thing that's on the
ordinance if we're
table.
trying to. I mean, Lonnie, yeah. Oh my God.
Come on, Marcia, you're the
Right.
parliamentarian.
All right,
You're
so.
supposed to be explaining these things.
I just did.
Oh, this is right. All right, so all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed? Oh my God, I actually got that with yes. All right, so now, and it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't rushed, and trust me, Rolf has called me and gave me a description about this whole thing. Yes, he's my mentor. It was to clean things up, is what it is, to make things.
Yeah, I don't want to knee jerk on this one.
No, I'm okay with that too. So, let's get an opinion from Mary Costigan. And unfortunately, Sue, you're gonna have to talk to the person that's involved, and they're gonna have to pick what board they wanna be on right now. And we take it from here. Okay? Got that?
Got it.
Good.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to make a motion to accept the new road name change. We ready? To East Rolling Brook Road.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I guess, and I'm not, I mean, I understand E911, but I mean, we're talking a very short road there. Why is there gonna be a differential between Rolling Brook Road and East Rolling Brook Road, where you only got like 4 or 5 houses there? And if that's the case, is it because it's a T intersection there, and you're worried about people taking a left instead of a right? And if that's the case, then what other roads do we need to address that on?
And that would be a question for the 911 addressing officer, and she is not here.
Oh, Bruce is behind you too.
But Bruce is standing.
Yes.
She didn't see Bruce behind
I have
us.
to be
Sorry, Stu.
Sorry, I'm back.
I heard the door close before, and I thought it was Bruce.
No, sorry, I'm back. And so, this is an interesting issue. From our point of view, having roads that are so closely named, even though they're connected and one's a right versus a left, can lead to some delays and such. So, again, in another past life, having another town with many split roads, etc., what we did there was left them and put an indication sign at that T intersection that would say 1 through 14 and put an arrow, 14 through 15 and put an arrow, or whatever the house numbers breaks were. And that got us to the right places. One of them was a yes, two signs.
One sign with two arrows.
Well, it could be one.
One sign with two arrows.
Yeah, one sign, 2 arrows. Instead of a street sign and a street sign on either side. It isn't an easy scenario to address, that's for sure. So we've got, it's very close, and Kathy and I were both talking about that we're sure that it will lead to some confusion at some point in time.
If we don't rename or add the name?
If we add the name, and
If
it's
you add the
so
name, it's
close.
gonna
If
mess
you
you up?
named it something totally different,
So
it
can't-
would maybe, but I think the simple thing from our point of view was just put in a sign with an arrow, these many are this way, these many are this way, and
No, I made the motion, but I absolutely would go with what you two, a lot of years of experience, you say should be an arrow
But do you have a say over that?
number.
I mean, does he have a
just-
say over that? Because there's
No,
two
I'm the one that made the
Right, no, I know.
motion, and they're the ones that,
and I know
Have the
Kayla's
most
following
influence. if they
guidelines
feel
that
that it
she's
should,
got.
then
But I think
I
it's
wanna
the
go with
state,
that.
the state of Maine though, 911. Do you guys have say over that to change that?
No, I want their opinion.
No, I,
That's all.
And that's the thing, is Kayla's been in contact with them, I understand that. It is pretty close, and I think the majority of the road is actually the undeveloped portion to the left, which eventually will have another road off from it. I don't know what that one's gonna be called, it's something totally different. The original was Hemlock to Rolling Brook, and then the other road off from it. So if there's 14 on the right, if you go around the number 14 house, I think is diagonally across from the intersection as you come to the T, and that's gonna continue and then go out into the,
wow.
I think it was 20 or 30 possible lots.
When the stuff's hitting the fan, there's no time for confusion.
No,
No.
you're
It's,
right.
you
Is this in an area where mutual aid would get there first?
It could, Casco,
So that,
Yeah.
that's another issue.
could be, Casco could come in first.
Stay right there. All right, so there's a motion on the table. All in favor?
Wait a minute.
Oh.
What I'm concerned with there is, are you solving a problem by not renaming the other side something entirely different rather than just putting it east?
You could go either way, with the two sides or a totally different road
Because,
name.
Yeah.
it's,
Because you're gonna have a Rolling Brook sign on this side and a Rolling Brook East on that side.
yeah.
People that maybe are visiting and something happens, they're just gonna remember Rolling Brook. They're not gonna remember the east or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
So could
So-
be very confusing.
You need to go up Rolling
No.
Brook to get to East Rolling Brook,
Nope,
No.
you come to the T.
You come to the T, east would be,
and the T is where?
And I think the biggest question comes in
Hemlock is in the middle of
Yeah.
So
the two roads.
in fairness to Kayla, is that, you number and it's 1, 2 around, and now you turn the other direction, and now you got evens on one side and opposites on the other side versus the way it's supposed to be set up. So that created a little bit of a problem. And I think everywhere this happens, that it creates that problem.
So what if we vote no? They have to change the street name. Get another street name then.
Yeah, I made the motion.
Yeah.
Could have to.
Yeah.
Hmm?
All right, so are you done asking questions?
Yep.
So all in favor of the street name? Opposed? Okay,
but that's to say that now it should go back and get looked at for what's the optimal way to deal with it. It's not to say that we're not opposed to making sure that that you guys can get to the right place, but what's the best way to do it?
Correct. Yeah. And I don't mean to make Kayla's job more complicated, because addressing is not an easy thing
Well-
to do, so.
I'm gonna piggyback on that conversation right there. I need you to give your speech about house numbers on,
Yes.
numbers on houses and mailboxes on both sides, please.
Yeah, and one of the things, that's one of the projects we try to do every fall, is to get our crews out and visit every road, or the roads we haven't been on, to leave notes for people, because our addresses are still, we're closer to 50%, we're not over it anymore, of misaddressed homes. Those that are, there are some that are addressed, they're addressed inappropriately. We found houses that are painted, the numbers are painted over, or in many cases, as simply as innocent as, I put it on the tree in front of my house and it's right there, come look with me. And I did it 20 years ago. The tree is now 30 feet taller and the brush is growing in front of it. And one woman told me that it's right on my well house. I said, well, I'm not looking at your well house, which is 150 feet away from your home. I'm looking at your home or your driveway for your address. So this is a huge problem for us, and it does delay us. And Teresa and I have chatted about this, and she sees my posts every now and then. We'll go out, and we're very much delayed on emergency calls because these addresses are not posted properly. There really should be 3 or 4 inch letters at the road, at the end of the driveway, reflective, so that we can see them better at night, and maintained so that when they fade, you replace them. When brush grows in front of them, the brush is trimmed. And then also on the house, if it sits far enough back and there's multiple houses on the driveway, they also then need to be numbered. So usually there's a sign with 2 house numbers at the driveway, and then a house sign on each house. I responded to a house one day looking, and I stopped at this person's house, and it was really the next one, and there was no number on the house, but it was on the gable end of his barn. Again, I'm not looking on the barn for the house number, I'm looking at the house or the driveway for the house number. So once it was explained, they were great and put their numbers up. But we really need to get the word out there to everybody, and if you see your neighbors or whatever don't have theirs posted appropriately, it does affect you as well. Because every one that's not there slows us down. We have to stop and assess, is that where I'm supposed to be?
Is that something that could be on the checklist for the code enforcement officer when he goes to do
Now,
inspection?
it is, and that's why I say we're getting better, is mostly because of that, because an occupancy permit will not be issued unless the house number is up, and that's one of the first things you check.
That's good.
That's
That's good.
helped fix some of the issues. So
Yeah.
we're getting there, but
It's still, there's only so many more that don't have it, yeah.
right now I go plant a hedge in front of my house, you can't see the house, my number's not visible, so move the number to the road. And then, you know, the snow banking thing.
Oh,
because
snow banking's bad with
bad
it, yeah.
clear them out in the winter.
Ugh.
I'm looking to get them for those 9 months a year we don't have snow, at least
Yeah.
posted, but
Nope,
it would be nice.
cool, thanks
be able to
Bruce.
find what we
Thanks,
want.
Kathy.
Yeah.
All right, public comment. Please, no? Nope. All right, selectman comment.
Be safe, Kathy.
Selectman comment? I have something I'm gonna drop on you guys, like a bomb.
Wonderful.
Let
Let's
me
hear
get
it,
my
our
box
fearless
out.
leader.
All right, I have been talking to the H-Friendly, and also when we were doing the election to see if we would move forward with a withdrawal, we were talking to people coming in, how did they hear about it? And a lot of people didn't know about it until either seeing my homemade signs or H-Friendly on their papers that they're having done right now, surveys, is communication is huge, lack of in this town. Trying to get word out, and if you stop and think about it, there's maybe only about 5–10% of people that really are following or hearing what's going on in town. You know, I know everybody has a lot going on. So I'm going to open that can of worms, and I'm really thinking we should maybe start investigating again the main road, the Raymond Roadrunner. Again, getting it out, getting it back. We can, and I talked to Dawn some about this.
Who
And
would,
just
who
to-
would do it?
Well, that's just it. We would probably run an ad for it. Not sure. I want to
Have
start.
a committee for it?
Yeah.
And if there's a committee, then it's worthy, and if there's not a committee, then it's
Yep.
obviously no interest.
I think, you know, I know the Wyndham Eagle goes to everybody, but gosh, between the signs out here, the Facebook page, the signs I put in the street, or people just hitting up different Facebook pages, there's not the website, but not a lot of people look at it. I need We need to find a way to get word out to people, you know, and so
Well,
One-
let me ask this, what word are we trying to get out that we're not getting out now?
a lot.
That's a good answer.
A lot. It is.
Well, I
It's
mean,
not-
A lot?
you know,
Can you-
Is that a lot of land?
I mean, I guess the thing I would say about that is, if they're not reading the Wyndham Eagle, they're not reading the Lake Region Weekly, what makes you think they're gonna read the Roadrunner?
Cause it's a Raymond Roadrunner. It's
Doesn't
special.
matter, it's still a paper it's still a paper that they're gonna use for fire starter or whatever.
The other side of that is I think that the Roadrunner kind of faded away when the school was consolidated, because there hasn't been a thing, and I think a lot of that Roadrunner issues were school driven, things are going on in the school and stuff.
Well, we can,
We can bring that back.
yeah,
I'd like to, has,
investigators.
has Kelly Mag have any interest in dedicating a Raymond page in the Wyndham Eagle?
I gotta tell you, the Wyndham Eagle, Lorraine, and stuff like that, they're good.
I'm
They are
talking
good.
about Kelly Magno, not Raleigh.
We could probably talk to Kelly about it. Yeah.
A dedicated Raymond page, which would require a dedicated Raymond reporter, I suppose.
So,
Their
since you,
circulation's like 40,000.
Right.
So that's a lot.
so since you suggested that, can I nominate you to?
Yes, I will talk to Kelly and see.
We-
Yes, I will.
We've been trying, I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been trying to use the Eagle, and Lorraine, as the editor, has
Right.
been very
Right.
interested and cooperative. And I think,
To it.
I think that if you look at the proportion of articles, significant articles that go to Raymond, and we've been doing pretty well lately.
Mhm.
And so I've been pitching them on various things. You know, we've had a number of front page stories, feature stories about what we're doing, and, you know, personality type stories. And so I've been trying to use the Eagle in place of the Roadrunner.
Yep,
And
in place of the Lake Region.
well, Matt
And-
Junker
yeah,
is,
that
is
too.
good with following up
I
on
see his
source.
byline in the Portland paper.
Oh,
Well, it's because they're all owned by the same guy.
Yeah.
didn't know that. Louise.
Louise Lester, 10 Hartley Lane. I was thinking when I've looked at those papers, what may be great is just a calendar of events. What's happening this week? It would be something that would at least let people know.
Well, I think one of my concerns is getting things out about the withdrawal. I think the numbers and the progress and everything else is going to be huge, but I also think the newspapers are going to be covering that. You know what I mean? One of the things about the Wyndham Eagle is they do not put anything negative in there, and I like the way that they do put a good twist on things. They really do.
That was the editorial policy of the Raymond Roadrunner.
Yes.
All the positive news that's fit to print. That was our
Which is
motto.
why it went out.
But a calendar events too would be good too. So if we can even put that in there, that can be added to. You can be on the committee for this.
Louise, chairman.
No. No, but I think any written document they'd probably put in. I don't think we have to make a special effort to have a separate document to get information out to the people. It seems to me
No, they
that
welcome
both
it.
of those
They welcome it.
newspapers would be more than willing to print anything that anybody wanted to send to them.
Well,
Therefore, all you need is a committee or person or something
There was
that's
an att-
willing to formulate stuff every week to put in the paper.
There's an attempt, and I'm not sure how successful, the Raymond Roadrunner electronic version.
you usually send it. I think you or Kayla send it quarterly. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there was an attempt at that, but there's a lot of moving pieces to the Roadrunner. It's a bigger discussion than you can deal with tonight, I can tell you that.
Well, and the other thing is too is getting more people out for the Raymond Rec. I know a couple of my parents that come to daycare did not know about the Raymond Rec sign up for soccer and stuff like that because they didn't know where to hear and look. So because the school has strictly cut out
Right.
anything extra that's going on in the communities, it only has to be school based. So
But they're not even telling the Roadrunner, the Wyndham Eagle, that stuff.
no. So
Like-
I'm just trying to think of ways we can get
But-
more people involved back into the sports programs again and involved and it's pulling new families in is what it's
But
doing.
if you get the schools back, you can change that policy.
Exactly.
You can send out notices with the children like they did,
Yep.
about things that would be of interest to young families with children.
I know.
Logical? I think so.
I think it's the Lake Region that they have a Raymond page, a Raymond section.
Every other week.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I don't see it.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, because the amount of the amount of fill isn't there to take care of, for every week. So the Lake Region Weekly has it in there every other week.
And they're not picking up school events,
No.
and that's filler stuff right there.
Well, and this is town stuff too, so,
All right.
alright,
Okay, we'll think about it.
town manager's
I
report.
think we have the wrong dates in here.
I was about to tell you.
Yeah, I think both dates are incorrect.
They are. It should be
So
the
it should
9th
be
and the
October
13th.
9th and November 13th instead of October 10th and November 14th. So that should be the 9th and the 13th.
I will talk to Ken.
Okay?
Okay.
And then we have our upcoming holiday schedule, which is Monday, October 8th, Columbus Day. I think that's right, Sue?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Distribution of it.
Everybody all set? Okay.
That it?
I could go on, but,
Tell us more about age friendly.
oh, age
No.
friendly.
No, they're gonna come talk to us.
Okay, I can talk about that. I can talk about any number of
They're gonna
things.
come
you
talk to us. Hopefully at the next meeting.
Okay.
Are you good with that?
want. Okay. Whatever you like. Or
Alright.
don't like, whatever you want me to do.
Nothing.
Warrant?
Nothing.
Warrant. Move the treasurer's warrant at $190,907.53.
So moved.
Second. I moved it, you seconded it.
Second, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned.
I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?